Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, we're going to talk to the CEO of a company that is the largest provider of technology leadership on the planet. That's just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team. And the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, it seems like every single day we're hearing about another security breach. Even large Fortune 500 companies are suffering from this. But what happens if you're a small or mid-sized company and you might have an IT person, or maybe you don't? To talk about that today, Burke Autrey. He is the CEO and co-founder of Fortium Partners. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit of your journey. So did you start in technology?
I did. Yeah, I started years ago in consulting. So PwC, Deloitte, some of the largest consulting firms around. And then just eventually got the idea of moving into technology leadership. Consulting has a certain lifestyle that you have to be on the road all the time. And so it was a little bit of a different move for me career-wise, but started doing technology leadership very similar to what we do now very early on in about 97. And eventually joined a firm called Tatum when they were starting a CIO practice. They were known as CFO providers, and they were starting a brand new practice to do CIOs, sorry. And then years later, after that firm was acquired, we started Fortium Partners to provide technology leadership in the form of a CIO, CTO, or CISO, the security function, to companies of all sizes.
And tell us why that's in the best interest of the companies that you serve.
Yeah, so search is an interesting thing, right? Search provides a full-time W-2 employee, and that means that the company that is grabbing that person has to have a need for that person full-time, and they can really only afford or attract the person that is willing to go to that company on a full-time basis, right? So we changed the script a little bit, and we offer people that are incredibly experienced, 25 plus years of experience, and we offer them on a fractional basis, sometimes on a virtual basis, and sometimes even on a very short basis for a very particular situation, such as a security incident like you mentioned before. Companies have an extreme need for extreme leadership right away, and sometimes we'll do that.
And your partners stay up to date on all the latest stuff? Because
they try. Yeah, it's hard, but they try, yeah.
I know there's a lot of IT people out there that, they were good when the company had, 50 employees, right. But now the company is 500 people large. Yeah. Is that when they call on somebody like you?
They call when they need leadership. They need someone to take charge. They need someone to step into the gap, take responsibility for the strategy, the issues that they're dealing with, a bunch of employees, a budget, right? So it's not just a specific situation, but CEOs need leadership. They need someone to step in and take responsibility for what needs to be done, which is very different than consulting, right? Sometimes in a consultant, there's a project, there's an outcome that is desired, and the entire team is working to get the outcome, but they're not working for the company to accomplish what needs to be done on a day-to-day basis as well. So,
absolutely, we caught a recent podcast. You like to do podcasting, and I think it's wonderful that you're a thought leader in your industry. Yeah. When you do podcasting, what are some of the topics that you like to get into?
People are interested in our model. It's different. There aren't a lot of people doing what we do. We're the largest provider of technology leadership the way we do it in the world. But they do sometimes ask about. So we represent as a leadership function, we represent probably $4 trillion a year worldwide in spending on technology products and services, right? So So people come to us because people come to all technology leaders, but specifically since we're kind of the one with the largest group under one roof, they come and they ask about, what do CIOs think? What do CISOs think? How do they respond? What products do they want to use? How do they find what they need? Things like that. So from vendors, there's a real interest in that, and certainly people do want to know about issues that affect their business, and that is, how do we spend on technology wisely? How do we prevent security breaches, which you mentioned at the start of the show? Those topics are on everybody's mind because technology is so pervasive.
Absolutely. We've got some video of hacking. What are your clients saying these days? That has to be priority number one.
It is. It's honestly, so we do the CIO function, the CTO function, and then the CISO, the Chief Information Security Officer function, is the one that's most closely aligned with that security, compliance, governance, those sorts of things. So they definitely come to us for that, and that's because there's hardly any company that is safe from that sort of from the bad guys trying to steal their secrets, steal their lock up their data, and so we do get a fair amount of calls from companies that are in crisis because they've been locked up through ransomware, or they need to. Or they're getting ahead of it and they realize we better do something now or else we're going to be in trouble. But no company is absolutely secure, so you just have to have good leadership to put in the right products and services and the right mindset, the right policies and procedures and so forth, just to give you a fighting chance against the bad guys when they come.
The entire nation is suffering from staff shortages in various industries.
Yeah.
What does it look like in technology right now?
It's hard. I had a partner telling me the other day that on his client, and it happens to be in the security realm, they're having a really hard time finding people. There's just a shortage. And so there's a lot of talk about availability of people, but we're finding in the technology space, it's very tight market. And what we're advising our clients is, you cannot restrict that labor pool by saying they have to live in Dallas or they necessarily have to go to the office, because through the pandemic, people have realized they have choice, right? And some of the best people are now wanting to put their choice and their lifestyle ahead of where they go to work, right? So, but they're extremely valuable and they're hard to find. So, our advice is make that pool as large as possible, whether that's in the office, not in the office, in the U.S., outside the U.S., and so forth, and just try to do your best to be flexible in those areas.
Tell us about companies that work with you. It's pretty seamless. In fact, their employees probably think that your employee is a member of their team.
Right. Yeah. It's really interesting. Having done this myself for 25 years or so, oftentimes when we move into a company and take on the role of a CIO or a CTO or CISO, we are viewed by the company as employees. And I would say it's an employee with a little bit of a different take in that oftentimes after hours, because there's an outsider that's in there, there's almost a more of a willingness to come to that person to talk about the business and their career, because they're not really talking to their boss in the traditional sense, but they're talking to someone who could have a great influence on their career. And I find that our partners really enjoy that aspect of it. They get the benefit of delivering what they're really good at and the company really values, but they also have a benefit of providing just a little bit of career advice or a little bit of a different perspective that you would if you were your traditional full-time employee.
So when you're looking for new partners, not just smart people who know their way around the computer, but somebody who can communicate and have empathy.
Right. Yeah. That's always the best. I mean, first we're looking for people who have a career full of technology leadership experience. Generally, not someone who's had their first or that's aspiring to have their first CIO, CTO, or CISO role. We're looking for people that have done that many times at many companies, because that's what our clients come to us looking for, right? They don't want someone who is just now arriving at that role, but they've done it and they can benefit from that person's perspective and years of experience and instinct on how to solve the kinds of problems that they're coming up with. So that's what we're looking for. And it is great if they have that ability, that empathy, the ability to listen. But most executives, I find, have that ability once they've been in business 25 plus years.
Okay, final thoughts. What
Yeah.
would you like to leave people with?
Gosh, we're having a blast. We're having a blast at Fortium. I think we've developed a company that is that's providing a real need for clients who have a hard time finding technology leadership, especially on a short-term basis or finding it quickly. And interestingly, we're providing a real solution for people that are at a point in their career where they don't necessarily want that next full-time job. Maybe they're wanting to take some time off. They want to work maybe not full-time for themselves. They're at a point where they want to change just the makeup. They might want to work hard for 6 months and then work less hard for the next 6 months. We're providing a place for people at that stage with that experience to do some of the best work they've done of their careers and do it in a way that they really feel like they're giving back to the industry that's given them their livelihood for so many years.
Outstanding. You've been a great guest. We're going to end with your website, which is fortiumpartners.com. Burke Autrey, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it.
And that's it for now. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.